How's it going, friends? Welcome to the Twin Cities. This show tells the stories of the folks that we've been lucky enough to help relocate to the Twin Cities. I will say this podcast is a little bit different than that, but in hopes that hearing directly from them may help you along the same journey. I'm your host, Jesse Lynch. I run the hardest working real estate team in the game. We're called To the Twin Cities, and we are here at our office that we call The Shop in Northeast Minneapolis. I'm joined by my co-host and arguably the best agent on my team, Steve Wilk.
Hello, what's up?
That's a little dicey.
You arguably the two best agents on your team.
Arguably the two best agents on my team.
One of which being me, Steve Wilk.
One of which is my co-host, Steve Wilk. Thanks for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, or wherever you listen or watch. And of course, if you want to work with said aforementioned hardest working real estate team in the game, head over to our website, tothetwincities.com, or shoot us an email directly to info@tothetwincities.com. And while we're here, I'd like to extend my immense gratitude to, really,
best dude in the game. Honestly.
The truest, the newest and the truest, the Swiss Army knife of a human, producer of the show, cabin builder, deck maker, video guy,
Podcast engineer,
does it all. Paul Winkleman, everybody.
Yo.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate you very much. Paid ads guy. That's a fun one. And today we are joined by our esteemed guest and arguably favorite client ever and
Best agent on the team.
And arguably one of the best agents on the team. How's it going, Malcom?
Hey, what's up?
Thanks for being here. You really gum up that intro by also being an agent on the team.
We should mention Malcom is an agent on this team in addition to being a former client.
Was a client, a couple years later now as an agent on the team. We see you a lot, and we were like, it'd be fun to have you be a guest on this. So.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, totally. Get perspective from someone who's in the game now, doing it, real estate,
Slanging?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess let's start with, before you even reached out to me originally, what were you doing then? I know, it's funny because I know some of these details.
Yeah, I can ask.
Right.
Maybe I know less, but where were you living? What were you doing for work? What were you doing for, your lifestyle stuff?
Sure.
All that stuff.
So I'm trying to think of timeline. So before I had reached out to Jesse, I moved back home. I lived in Washington State, and I moved back home in with my parents.
How recently? What was that timeline like?
So I moved back, I think, early spring of 2019.
Okay.
And then you and I got in contact, I think, almost a year later.
About a year later,
yeah. So I was just doing my day job and other things here and there, with my, clothing brand and stuff that I talked to you guys about.
Hustling.
Yeah, hustling, the side hustles. But there was just a point where specifically my partner, Kendra, was just I've been saving up for a house. This is literally all I've saved for. Anytime I've worked, I'm kind of feel like you deserve it. Yeah. And even in my mind, I always thought I'd be renting just because I was I want to move around and I want to try to live in different states and things like that. And I always thought if I bought a house, then I was kind of stuck. Yeah. And then once I moved back for my family and for Kendra and things like that, I was just okay, let's get a house. And you weren't even our first realtor, actually.
Yeah.
And I won't say names, but we had a realtor probably, I think it was the year before. And it was a recommendation from a family member, and they were just you should go with him. So we went and we looked at homes, and we had no idea what the process was like. We had no idea what we were even doing. And we would look at these houses, and we would see these things that were blatantly wrong with the house, or things that we didn't like, at least, or that we didn't want to try to fix up. And even when we pointed them out, our agent at the time was just so you want to put an offer on the house? And we weren't even pre-approved. We didn't even know what we were doing at all. We hadn't gone through any of the process. And it kind of felt like he just kind of kept pushing us. And then because of that, it turned us away from it completely.
But he pushed you, but also didn't they didn't even know weird. To be pre-approved.
No, we had no idea of any of those things.
That's truly stunning to me.
Yeah.
So he was asking at every house you saw if you wanted to put in an offer?
Yeah, and it didn't really feel like he was putting in effort to help us either. almost like a complete opposite of what Jesse did and we'll get into that in a minute too, but when we would look at houses, Jesse would hit us up like, hey, you want to look at these ones too that I found? And the real estate agent we had prior, we'd be like, hey, we're thinking about this house. And he's like, yeah, I'll meet you there. And then we'd look and he's like, so you want to put an offer on it? And a lot of the times our like meetings at those homes, or, our viewership of it was like 20 minutes, and he'd be asking us to put an offer in on it. So it just kind of left a bad taste in our mouth for like, the next year. And then
imagine if you did. Like, imagine if you were like, yes.
Nothing would have happened anyway.
Yeah, it would have been
because you weren't pre-approved.
It would have been so like such a frustrating experience. Like, even if you were like, yeah, we do like this, you would have been just like adrift. I can't imagine.
Well, and the thing that's so confusing about it too is like, we were just guessing what our budget would even be.
That's what I'm saying. That's
like
wild.
We had no idea what it even was, and so we're looking at homes that are like 200,000, 250, and we have no idea. We're like, this is just the average home ownership, and do we have money? Who knows? And so we'd look, and it was just a very strange, jarring experience, and it really turned us off from it. So then we just stayed at my parents' for the next year, and then I saw a video you had posted, Jesse, on social media. I think I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah.
And I think the video literally was like, hey, I'm a real estate agent now also.
Yeah.
And I just told Kendra, I was like, hey, so I'm going to reach out to him. You want to start looking again? She's like, yeah. And like within, I think, a couple weeks, we were looking.
That was like video number one, like the first video that I did.
I was like, this dude was on my podcast before. Let me reach out to him. He's cool.
That's wild. I remember shooting that video the first time, and I had it more like written out, and then I shot it and sort of like memorized it. And as I was editing it, like literally first video I did in real estate, I was editing it and I realized like, I just was like out loud, I was like, I hate this. And then I reshot the whole thing without having anything like
scripts are weird.
Yeah, and I'm like, it just didn't feel authentic and whatever, and it's kind of funny just like, I guess I'm glad that I did that. I'm glad that I was like, I can tell that I'm reciting this,
I'm glad
Switch
too,
up the whole vibe.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. So was that first video like how to buy a house?
No, it was like,
it was literally an
hi, I'm a real estate agent.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I know this guy.
Yeah.
Right on.
Because I mean, like, to be honest, like, you're great at what you do, but anything probably would have been better than our first guy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious.
Luckily, he set a very low bar.
Yeah. Not to like defend him or anything, but like, were you asking questions about like, hey,
we didn't even know what to ask.
Yeah,
like, we were like completely like in the dark on the whole thing. Like, I think it was my brother had suggested him and was just like, yeah, he's who we used. And now, years later, I asked my brother, I'm like, why do you even do that? He's like, oh, we didn't like him either. I'm like, why would you suggest him to me, man?
Because it's somebody that does it.
Yeah.
I'm curious. So back then, now we have a pretty robust like onboarding of folks we're helping, where it's like we meet with people and we know what to talk about. Did we meet up?
We didn't, actually. We never had like we met at a house on the outskirts of Maple Grove. I don't remember if it was a new build or if it was a corner lot. And it was during pandemic times, so like we're all masked up and everything too. Yeah, it was just kind of, and I remember us feeling weird about it because I'm like, like, can we look at houses right now? Is that okay? And that was just a strange.
Oh, that was very odd. Yeah.
That was a weird time.
Weird vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be a real estate agent. I mean, to be any profession really, but yeah, it's real estate specifically. That was a weird time to be in a stranger's house.
We didn't have any like prerequisited meeting or anything like that. We met at a house and it was like, hey, dude, and he gave me the elbow.
Oh yeah.
And I hadn't seen you in like years, and I'm just like, what's up, man? And like, we would walk through the house, and I'm like, I have no idea what's going on. Kendra knew way more than I did. I'm like, if she's happy, that's cool.
Yeah.
And we would ask questions, but the thing that was kind of cool about the process was like the more houses we looked at, the more I like even learned.
Because I was pointing stuff out.
Yeah, and I'm like, is this normal? And you'd be like,
yeah.
It's like, is this really worth it? Because I didn't even know what I liked at the time.
Yeah,
and then we would try these different houses too and be like, yeah, I thought I liked that, but actually now that I see it, kind of hate it.
Yeah.
So it was a very interesting experience to have with it, at least.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's very much part of the process as far as I'm concerned. Like finding out what you don't like.
Oh, for sure.
That's about as important as, finding what you do like. Because, there's a bunch of houses that would do the trick for most people, but the non-negotiable, the things where you're like, I just can't imagine living here because of something that you don't like is, I think, a more potent ingredient in the whole process. But yeah, crazy. I mean, and I don't remember, did you reach out and you were like, hey, this is something, and then here's this house that I don't remember, like.
No, like, I think the whole process, if I remember right, and I could be remembering wrong, but I was like, hey, you're a real estate agent now? And you're like, yeah. We're like, we need someone. You're like, yeah, okay. It's like, we have like this house. Either like we sent you one house to meet up at, or we're like, this is kind of what we like. And I think like 2 days later, you're like, hey, I found a bunch of houses. You want to go look? Because I don't think we ever went and looked at like one singular house. It was always like a group of 4 or more.
Yeah.
Because we were just like really trying to maximize the time. So if I'm like, hey, like we have 1 or 2 houses we want to look at, you're like, cool, I got 3 more.
Yeah.
Like just to make it worthwhile.
Did Jesse teach you about the process, or in that period of time when you stopped looking with your original agent, did you learn stuff in that before you started looking again?
Yeah,
or?
I mean, like the initial thing was, I think we had messaged him you're right, before we had even met up. You were like, are you pre-approved? And I was like, I have no idea what that even means.
This is wild, dude. On April 11th, 2020, which is literally less than a month after I got licensed. Hey man, here you're a realtor and stuff now. My girlfriend and I are looking for a house.
Hey man.
Tano, hopefully sooner than later, was curious if you'd like to work with us in this endeavor. And I'm like, dude, I'd absolutely love to. Sick. We're just basically, dude, where's my car? The real estate version. We used to go through this realtor, but didn't like him very much. Kind of seemed like blah, blah, blah. Wanted to just buy a house, you know. And then I said, like, yeah, that's called commission breath. It's a bummer, but seriously, it happens. Be honored to be your guy. What kind of timeline are you thinking? So, okay, so we talked about it a little bit over, like, Facebook Messenger.
Yeah.
Wild.
Hopefully this year, pretty relaxed about it, blah, blah, blah. Ideally a townhouse. Ideally it would be a house or a townhouse. And we know what we like. Lie. Kendra knows what she likes.
Yeah.
My issue is the commitment to a home, which makes townhome. Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I remember my issues now that I brought to like the attention, because I knew a couple people, and I actually just made a video about this too that's going to come out soon. But I remember talking about how I didn't want a townhome because I think it was someone Kendra knew, they've been stuck in a townhome for like the last like 20 years. And they like couldn't get out of it, couldn't sell it or anything. I was like, I don't want to be stuck in a townhome. And now I'm in a townhome and I love it. So it was one of those things where I thought I hated it too until I was like in it, and I was like, oh yeah, this isn't even bad.
For sure, yeah. I mean, like Jesse was saying, you know, like the process, the home search process, does priorities change over time? The last person that we talked to mentioned like how he had kind of had like a preconception about St. Paul and not being interested in St. Paul, and then like now that he's lived here for about a year, he really wishes that he would have considered St. Paul more, because now that he spent more time there, and you know. So yeah, those types of things do evolve and change. You know, what you think what you think you like or what you don't like, you know, kind of,
right.
You know, can adjust throughout the process.
Dude, when I was growing up, the northern suburbs might as well have been Mexico.
Oh, same thing.
I didn't know anything about it.
Same for me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think I had ever been north
of. Was like.
Yeah, like the next city over felt like so far away. You didn't know like anything.
I didn't know anything about like anything north of this. You know, Blaine, Coon Rapids. It's like. They were just like names on a map, or like hockey teams, during like the Minnesota hockey tournament or whatever. It was like, they like weren't real to me, and now I'm like, okay, yeah, they're very real, and they're, you know, it's wild.
Yeah,
but,
now look at your knowledge, you know, all this stuff about all these places.
Yeah, we did Zoom.
Oh, we did.
Yep, I sent you a Zoom invite.
Wonder if I attended.
2 days later. Yeah, of course you did. Yeah, because I was thinking we must have set up a home search.
Yeah, I don't remember doing a Zoom or anything though.
Well, we did.
It was just so easy, so smooth. Just didn't even.
Yeah. But yeah, that's cool. So then, where were you looking?
Yeah, or I was gonna say, where were you living?
Yeah, so where my parents lived was in Nowthen, which is like a rural city near Ramsey, kind of between Rogers and Elk River, like this weird corner spot.
It's a very strange no man's land, a very rural, but it's surrounded by suburbs.
Mm-hmm. It's honestly, I love it. If I could get a house out there, like, great. You have like tons of privacy. You have like a minimum acreage you need to have to be able to have a home.
Yeah.
It's like, I think it's like 3 or 4 acres or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, so I was living with my parents there. And then the one place I didn't want to live was Ramsey because I had grown up there before my parents moved to Nelden. So, you know, it's like all within like a 20-minute area of this specific area. And where I grew up wasn't like, you know, my favorite thing just because I had been there for so long.
Totally. That's very relatable.
Yeah, so I was like, I don't want to move back to like my hometown, you know, like that just seems so strange to me when I have all these other options and I could go all these different places and whatever. And so I was living in Nelden with my parents, and then when we were looking, I think the first home we looked at was a townhome in Ramsey to kind of just get an idea.
Well, that was the first one.
Yeah.
Okay, not this Maple Grove house that you mentioned.
I feel like, I don't know, because I remember it like maybe it was the first townhome. Maybe, because I remember not wanting to look at townhomes. And then I think you said it's kind of dumb not to because you don't know what you like or don't like. We should at least check it out.
Sure.
And then, so we ended up going to that. And then I think we looked at like 30-something houses after that. And we ended up settling on the townhome in Ramsey. So like, didn't want a townhome, didn't want to be in Ramsey, ended up in a townhome in Ramsey.
A new build, yeah.
And yeah, the new build was a great incentive too.
Of course, that was a big part.
Yeah.
Everything paled in comparison to it.
Yeah.
Well,
Nothing felt as shiny.
And the only thing that was like echoing in my head too was like, I was like, warranty. Like everything's under warranty for like the next X amount of years, you know, instead of like, I could get this water heater that's on its way out and not even know it, you know, so.
Dude, one of my favorite things, maybe that was the first thing. I'll never forget this.
Yeah, talk about the shower.
Yeah, dude. We looked at this. Yeah. It was at that house.
Yeah, it was.
It had this like really sick walk-in shower that had like this glass,
so stupid,
this glass window. Dude, it was so funny to me. It had this glass window.
Is this the house that you bought?
Yeah.
Okay.
And this shower was a big part of why too. It was like one of the things where you're like, we need this shower because it's sick. Yeah. And
we omitted the fireplace to get the shower.
Yeah. But he like walks into the shower, and there's like this window, and I'm on the other side of it, and he like looks at me, and he goes, "Can you see me right now?" And he's just on the other side of a window, and I'm like, "Yeah, dude."
In my defense, I just thought it was weird that there was a window, so I thought maybe it was like a two-way mirror or something like that, a one-way window.
Just looking through a mirror or a window.
Man, I was laughing so hard,
yeah,
dude.
There's a window right here.
Yeah, the tone of your voice was like, "Yeah, stupid."
Like,
it's a window.
It was baffling. Just like, yeah. I'd be like you asking me right now, like, can you see me right now?
It would have been different if I was just like, you see how I look in the shower right now?
Yeah.
I look awesome.
Yeah.
You know? But it was literally the shower.
Do you see this, dude? Yeah. But yes, in the process, you'd already worked with a bum, let's say.
Sure. Yeah.
What was there anything you were nervous about?
As far as like
Working with me and whatever.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, because we had worked with one agent before you, so I was like, is every agent like this? Is this even worth the time? And I didn't even know that you were like a brand new agent either.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I think he's been doing it for like, I don't know, probably like a year or something, you know. I was like, he does a bunch of stuff. He probably has done this forever.
Yeah.
But yeah, of course it was like a little nerve-wracking because one, it's like a giant purchase, you know, and it's like, hey, this is probably going to gut our savings because, you know, we live pretty frugally. Like I worked full-time for a while, but then I was fortunate enough to make enough money where I could just drop to part-time and just like live our lifestyle that way. So then it was like, it takes a while to save money. This is going to take a lot of my money away, and all my side businesses are going to like have to slow down quite a bit, you know, things like that. But as far as like working with you, I don't think I was nervous about it because of our interactions and exchanges that we had in the past, like through music and podcasts. I was like, I trust this guy. Yeah. It's not some random person.
What about just like things you were nervous about aside from me?
Like you had mentioned the commitment, just kind of in general about like purchasing any home. You know, dude, like the commitment to being in one place, that type of thing. Yeah,
you hear these horror stories, dude. Like I had a friend who bought a house up in Ramsey, and you know, it was in their budget and everything, and it was all good. They had their inspections, everything was solid. And then they went to go like replace their linoleum floor, and when they dug it up, it was just mold underneath. and that mold had seeped from the kitchen all the way into the hallway, into one of the bedrooms. And they're like, we can't even afford to fix this. So now we have to like sell, and we're out X amount of dollars, you know, that kind of stuff. And I was like, I just don't want to get into a house and miss something.
Yeah.
That was like the biggest thing. And that's where it's like, I think we specifically are very attracted to new builds as well, just because of that.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. That, I mean, it's, new builds are not without their potential issues, but it definitely reduces that quite a bit.
For sure.
Things that have been, certainly things that have been maybe covered up, especially, you know.
Right. There are no lingering, you know, issues because it's all new. But yeah, there still can be, you know, most of the time it's just like stuff that's just not all the way buttoned up with a new build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, there can be, you know, there can be things where it's like they just did something wrong, but yeah, there's warranty, you know. So, and that most of that would probably come out in the wash pretty early on of like, there's a pretty major issue going on, you know, in my new builds.
Well, and one of the other things too, not necessarily that I was nervous about it, but it was like I had just moved to Washington Washington State, and I moved back, and then I was planning on trying to live in like my plans were I wanted to live in like a city on each like coastal point, like for a year. That was like a goal I had.
Oh wow.
And so I was like, okay, Washington State, here's the, you know, Pacific Northwest, and then I was trying to California, Florida, that kind of thing. And buying a house, I was like, all my like previous endeavors or aspirations, I like had to literally be like, okay, we're okay with letting this go.
Yeah.
Was that difficult?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of was, just because, I don't know, it's like getting a house initially, like I was being like pretty selfish about it as far as not wanting one. And then like, you know, Kendra, it's like I love her and she wanted a house, and I was just like, yeah, okay, let's be less selfish and throw out these things for this. And it turned out to be like the right decision in my opinion, you know, because even so, it's like those are things that are cool. But what I found, at least living in Washington too, was there is a lot of similarities. It's like, yeah, the scenes are different, but the people are people.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like I'm gonna like regret my life buying a house if I don't have the capability to move every 6 to 12 months, you know?
Yeah. I think tour taught me that for sure. I bet Paul would agree. Like, you're like, oh yeah, people are kind of the same everywhere. Like it's like vaguely different flavors, but it's like they're all the same, you know, and not in like a bad way. You know, there's just, you'll see like people where you're like, Paul doesn't have a mic, but I'm curious if on tour you ever were like, I know you in Minnesota. Yeah, there's a version of you in Minnesota. Yeah, it's crazy. Or like, I grew up with you. You know, you're a different person, but I grew up with you. That's an interesting.
That is super interesting. Yeah. So when you were moving, so you mentioned the 4 coasts, like wanting to spend a year in, you know, each one, or you know, a city in each one. Mm-hmm. Was that so you could like potentially move to one long term and like kind of test it out?
You know, at the time, I don't really know. I mean, I think so. It's like there was this weird. So without going too much into like my past personal stuff or whatever, there was a lot of times where I wanted to go to school, and then the whole idea was to do like generals and then transfer to Washington State because I wanted to go to school there at the university. And then so I was doing that, and then I was convinced to just do, you know, like general community college things, and then just get an online degree and just staying in one spot because of that. So there was like this past resentment that kind of built up in me being like, I need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
And then, so it's like, even when I moved to Washington, it was like, I put in like, long story short, I had a friend who needed some help. So that was kind of like my out, was to be able to go and help. And I work at Costco, and I put in like a transfer request, and like 3 weeks later it was approved, and a week after that I was gone.
Yeah.
So within a month time, I moved across the country.
Crazy.
You know, so it was one of those things where it's like, I just wanted to like sample life and get an idea of what kind of lifestyle I wanted to live, you know. And one of the things I really learned out being in Washington is like, things are expensive as hell on the coast. And then so like in comparison from like Washington State to Minnesota, it's like I was paying more in rent in my crappy like 2-bedroom apartment in Washington than I'm paying for my mortgage of my townhome right now.
Yeah.
Which is like so crazy to try to explain to people sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, I've some of the first people I ever helped relocate here were in a rent-controlled one-bedroom in Oakland, and they bought this like awesome house in Kingfield, and their mortgage payment was less than what they were
Yeah.
paying in their rent-controlled one-bedroom.
Yeah.
And it's like, what a lot of the people that we help, they're like, what exactly am I paying for? How can I justify everything costing more if I'm not making more,
Right.
It no longer really makes sense. But yeah, I'm like, it's interesting that you wanted to live on all the points, and I get that. Like you wanted to you said sample. It's like you wanted to taste the possibilities, right? Like just be like, what is this? What does it feel like to be here? And do I feel at home here? But
I think that was something too, is I felt like this weird, having grown up in like the same area like my whole life, it was like without sounding like cliche, it was like, where do I belong? Like, what is a home? What is my home? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it was like more of a internal search than necessarily like an actual search for a home.
Sure.
And then
an existential search.
Yeah.
Finding yourself.
having
so
my
to
quarter
speak.
life crisis. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we're laughing, but I think that there's a lot of validity to that.
You were actually finding Malcolm the whole time. Yeah. Sounds like a movie. Finding John Malkovich.
Yeah.
So, okay, that's cool. So you decided to buy a Malcolmvich. I can't not say it. During, you decided you were buying a house, and we looked at 30 houses.
Yep.
There was no
Some
real
single family too, right? You mentioned that.
Yeah.
bits,
I think we put in, honestly, ironically, I think the only one we looked at that was attached is the one I ended up buying. I think the rest of them were detached single family or detached townhomes,
Oh wow.
which is
I know
also crazy
we
to
made
think
an offer
about.
on one townhome in Maple Grove, I think.
The one that was on the pond.
Yes.
And it got crazy outbid from what we could afford.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't remember if that was attached or not.
It was like a four block. Yeah. I somehow I remember it vividly. I've seen that layout 1,000 times.
Well, it's
now, too,
because
but-
that was probably the one home I think we put an offer on, didn't get it, and you're like, it's part of the process. And then
Yeah.
the next offer we put on was the new build,
Yeah.
which says something about the new build too, because with the new build, it's like we put an offer on and it's like, okay,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not
it's done.
You're not really offering. You're like, okay,
Right.
we're going to do this?
We're
Okay.
good.
Yeah. It's
The
a weird-
buying process for a new build is way different than a pre-owned home.
It was so
Yeah.
less stressful because even when we were putting those offers in, I remember even having the conversations like, well, we could put this much down, but then I'm taking out of my 401k, or we're doing this or that, and
Yeah.
we could do this, and then we put our best offer up, and you're like, do you want to do another one? I'm like, no, dude, they can have it for that.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna spend $30,000 over asking price or something
Yeah,
like that.
and it was also the first offer you made, right? Some people that's pretty common now, but you have to feel that burn often of okay, that offer didn't work. Now I moved on to the next offer. Okay, that didn't work. I'll make it a little bit better.
What adjustments can we make? It's not dissimilar from your priorities kind of shifting as you go through the searching process, but also the process of
your perspective.
Well, but as you're submitting offers too, that kind of changes, and you realize okay, because a lot of people, it's very rare that someone comes in with the first offer they make is going to be super competitive, right? Because most everybody's going to be like, well, let's just try it at list price with inspection, and and see what happens, and then it doesn't get accepted, and then they're like, okay, well, we could try that again, but we already saw what happened the first time.
Yeah,
And
next one that comes along,
it
you're
is
like,
an
all right,
evolution.
that didn't work. Yeah,
Yeah, one of the things that was also kind of interesting though was even when we were looking at those houses, the whole intention that we had was we intended on having roommates.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
This is
Oh,
gonna
interesting.
make it will lower our budget, we'll save money, this and that. And I don't think we ever looked at houses that were out of our price range, just the two of us. We made sure not to do that.
Yeah.
But even when we got into this new build, we haven't had a roommate ever. Because we're like, actually, it's kind of sick just to
Pretty
have
cool.
our alone time and to just be able to come home and not have to deal with other people, And
But there was a time when you were
the entire time we
contemplating-
were looking, it was we want roommates.
Literally,
Okay.
yeah.
Even the reason why we got
When
the
you
one
closed,
we did.
I recall. you
Yeah,
were
because
like,
we
this
wanted
is
the unfinished basement so we could do that, and we had the guest room that was going to be someone else's room.
Yeah.
We even had people lined up to be our roommates, and then we were like,
You bailed on them, or
yeah, I mean, long story.
yeah,
they were cool with it?
Yeah. So then obviously the offering, I remember the offer process. It's not really offering. It's like agreeing to terms with the seller.
You only had one offer before the one that got accepted?
You mean one home that I offered on? I think
Yeah.
we did 2 different offers on that one that we didn't get. And then this home, it was pretty much like, well, the situation that was kind of like sucky for us is we liked this one very specific build. And I don't know if you remember going through this whole thing because it was a little frustrating. But we liked this one specific build, and then we were in negotiation about like putting an offer in or purchasing it. And then they're like, oh, we don't take FHA because this isn't it was something like, this isn't a townhome, this is technically a condo. So you can't do FHA. So we're like, okay, whatever.
Some
And then-
associations aren't approved for FHA financing.
So then like we went and we looked at other things, and then we came back and we're like, well, can we do something different? Can we do conventional? And I think that was the scenario where I was like, I could drain my 401k for this if we really, really wanted it. And then they emailed us back around and we were like, actually, we do FHA. And I was like, oh, well, can we get that build that we initially wanted? And they're like, no, someone bought it. It was just like,
Bummer.
okay, well, let's go look at these other ones, and we found one that we still liked, but it wasn't the one we wanted initially.
I seem to recall that the way it worked is they weren't good with FHA. They weren't pre-approved or approved for FHA as the association as those homes because they were considered condos, which is very strange because they're definitely townhomes.
That's always weird. But
Yeah,
it
my
does
mom
happen.
lives in one of those where it's classified as that for whatever reason. But they weren't approved for that, but they were like trying to, and so they were like, you can go under contract as FHA, but it just can't close until we're approved for
they're
FHA.
going through the process.
And the
of
other
getting
thing that was
approved.
strange about it too is we couldn't get locked in at any type of interest rate until the rest of the houses on that like lot were sold.
Yeah.
So we were just waiting for the last house to get sold because I think when we first looked at it, it was at like 2.85 if I remember right, and we're like,
Your interest rate?
yeah, it was like low as hell. And we're like, let's lock in. And then we're just waiting and we're just watching it go up slowly, it's just like, this is stressful because what if it gets to an interest rate that we can't even like afford monthly, you know? And I think we ended up getting locked in at 3.25. Someone had bought the last one and we're like, in.
Yeah. I think part of it had to be a certain percentage of it had to be occupied for the last one to go FHA.
Okay.
Again, I'm like, these rules, I'm like,
Yeah.
Who?
So strange.
yeah, who's responsible
So
for
how long
this?
was the escrow process? Was it like a particularly long escrow?
It was the longest I had done at that point, for sure.
Okay.
It was like we had probably gotten under contract. This is my guess. Come to an agreement at sometime in like June,
Well,
and then it didn't close till like September.
you know what's
Whoa.
You know what's crazy though is like I don't know if that's 100% accurate because it's like if I messaged you on like April 11th, right?
Yeah.
Our move-in date, like the day that we moved in was like April 23rd.
No.
Yeah.
Then the next year.
It might have been the next year. Oh, we had to wait for it to be like finished building because
Yeah.
they weren't done with it being built yet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, it was under construction. It wasn't.
It wasn't
It
even
literally,
built.
Completed new
literally hadn't even
construction.
broken ground, so it was a year.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh,
I forgot that
whoa.
we'd look and we'd see like the foundation and stuff too. I forgot that it wasn't even built yet.
Yeah.
We would look at the like staged home.
Yeah,
Is what we
sure,
were
the
deciding
model.
off of. Yeah, the model.
Yeah.
And so September.
All this time, I was imagining that it was completed new construction.
No, yeah.
Okay.
They're still building up by us too.
They hadn't broken ground on any of that like particular like block of townhomes.
Sure. So, and you were living with your parents this whole
Yep.
time? How
Yep.
was that?
Great.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like I have nothing against my parents, and like they have like, like they.
No
I mean,
pent up resentment from
I mean,
childhood?
I had it good. Like I didn't like.
You were
that-
chilling, yeah.
Well, because the deal was
No,
for
I
us
love it.
too, is if like I was going to school, I didn't have to pay rent. So
Yeah.
as soon as I was done with school, they're like, "You have to pay rent." I'm like, "All right, how much we talking?" They're like, "You and Kendra, $300 apiece." And I'm
Yeah.
like, "Done."
That's-
Yeah.
And I mean, it's
barely anything.
It's a big house. They had like 5 acres. It was totally great. I was even just saying the other day, I'm like, I kind of wish we
We
could
moved back.
move back here. It's
Sell
kind of
the-
a good
rent
deal.
the townhouse
well,
out?
especially as being someone who had like a bunch of like side businesses too. It's like all of the money I was making being full time at Costco at the time, I was just like siphoning into those and watching it grow.
Sure.
Where now it's like, all right, most of my money goes to my bills and then we can eat, and that's cool.
Totally. Yeah, we've had 2 other guests on this podcast that lived with parents while they kind of in a similar, not for as long as you did, but, and yeah, they both had, I would say, different perspectives on that experience than you, but I'm glad to hear that yours was.
Yeah, no, it
Very
was
smooth.
cool. I mean, because I was like, hey, I want to move. I mean, I think my situation's a little bit different too, without trying to like make the podcast kind of like depressing. The reason why I moved back from Washington is because my mom got sick with cancer.
Yeah.
So then I was just like there helping, and spending time with my family. So it was like a good time.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. It wasn't like you weren't, your angst had lowered in regard to that.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
wasn't like
that'll
living
happen.
like the 18-year-old pop punk angst of like, I hate you, mom, I hate you, dad.
Yeah. So, okay.
Perspective changed.
Yeah. Do you remember what it was like to literally the longest escrow I've ever had, I think was that place.
It had to have been if it was over a year, or like while the whole thing
Well, the
was
escrow
getting
wasn't a
built or
full
whatever.
year. That was from when he reached out to when they closed. It
Yeah.
was about a year. But
There was a couple times where we had to actually go to the property and look at it because we're like, this isn't the bathroom we wanted.
oh yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that happened where they didn't have our shower.
Yeah.
And I was like,
And you're like-
hey, no, like
Yeah.
this is what I want.
Like,
Give
hey,
me
man,
the shower.
This was like the thing.
Literally.
Yeah.
I was like, hell no.
Yeah.
Like, give me it.
I do remember that. Yeah, we're like, this doesn't seem right, and they're like, okay, well, they fix it though.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it wasn't like the shower was all the way done. It was the framing.
Yeah.
And we're like, that doesn't look like the framing for the one with the window, And yeah, it wasn't. But they fixed it. Do you remember like what it felt like to just like wait that long? Was it like very strange or?
I don't think we really cared.
Yeah, you just like we're
Because like
chilling.
we were just chilling, and it's like even I don't remember the lady who was helping us through the whole thing, what her name was, but when we went and we checked just for that like bathroom, we only checked on the house that one time.
Yeah.
We never even went to it before that because we're like whatever.
Yeah,
and
they do
we're-
like a framing. It's like once it's framed, they're like, come look at it, make sure
Yep.
that it's framed,
But
whatever.
Julie was her name, and she
Yeah.
was like, it's so weird that you guys like didn't come out here because typically like couples or people will come out like once a week and look at the progress, or you guys had everything picked out that you wanted already. So we came and we're like this, and then we just like left it alone. And then once it was finally built, we went and checked out. And we're like, cool.
Yeah.
Like we tried to make it as stress free as possible, and
Yeah. Also, I mean, I think like if I recall correctly, Kendra was probably like,
Oh,
no,
she
I've
was-
done
she was
I know
heading
what
it.
I'm doing.
Yeah, she was heading the whole
Yeah.
thing. I'm like, I remember having a conversation with her, be like, you can decorate however you want. I get one room.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't touch that.
Yeah.
She's just like, okay.
Yeah.
that was
She's
it.
like, great. Yeah.
Well, she was saving her whole life for it, So I was like, you get to do what you want. Like, I don't really care. So
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Okay. Now you've closed on it, right? You're the owner of the home. Well, I guess you're first time home buyer.
Mhm.
What did it feel like to own the home?
it didn't really set in for like probably like a couple months.
Yeah.
Like honestly, because like
Your first payment, probably.
well, not even that, because of me living in Washington, having paid like the like $1,700 or whatever a month for it. I was just like, I just feel like I'm renting here. I don't really feel like I own it. Like
Yeah.
and I remember having a conversation with Kendra too, being like, yeah, it's somewhere to sleep. Like that's just how it feels because
Yeah.
I'm just gone doing whatever all the time anyway. But there was like a point, like probably a month and a half in, where I was just like, can I swear at all? Don't want me to? Okay.
I don't
We're-
mind.
Literally, like, it was a month and a half in, and I was like, holy shit, we own this, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it was just like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
And so then it's like, every day I'm like, dude, look, we own this. And then I was like stoked on it. But it took probably a month and a half for it to like set in.
Yeah. I believe that. Yeah. It's very strange to take possession. Like it's
Super
cool, it's
strange.
exciting, but you're like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay.
I remember vacuuming. I mean, they like my house. They had cleaned, but everybody kind of. It's like a spectrum of how clean it is when you move in and when you buy a pre-owned home. They'd
Yeah.
done a pretty good job, but yeah, I was like vacuuming an empty basement and just started like tearing up because I was
Yeah.
just like, I can't believe this is.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is happening. This is real.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I remember
the
y'all being very
quiet,
excited
man.
about it. Huh?
The sense of quiet that was in the home, too. Because
yeah.
we didn't have like a dog or anything anymore. So, like, we would come home from work and just be like,
Yeah.
vibing.
Yeah.
It was great.
What do you? So you ultimately, I mean, we've already said this. You moved to Ramsey.
Mhm.
which was not on your list.
Yeah, where were you looking?
Expressly,
Did you talk
expressly
about-
not on your list.
Yeah, like the places I did not want to live was Anoka and Ramsey. Those were the two that I was like, absolutely not.
Yeah.
And then I really wanted to live in Maple Grove because I love Maple Grove, but houses are like way expensive, or at least above what our budget was.
Considerably more than Ramsey,
Yes.
for sure.
So-
Especially for a new build.
Yeah, and we were looking at like Maple Grove and like Blaine because we had worked in Coon Rapids, which I don't really think we looked at any houses in Coon Rapids either. Now I think about it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, which is kind of strange. But yeah, just Maple Grove. I think maybe we looked at a place that was in Albertville once.
Sure.
Yeah, so like up in that area.
Yeah.
And then like didn't want Ramsey and just got Ramsey. It was like one of those things where I was like, okay, am I just being stupid? Am I kind
Yeah.
of being like,
Is this an arbitrary boundary I've set that
Yeah.
actually won't
yeah,
really?
it doesn't really matter at
Yeah.
all. How often am I gonna be here? Like,
Yeah.
you know,
It's like
things
you're looking
that.
in like places right next to it.
Yeah, yeah, and I could get it for cheaper. in
Yeah,
your build,
yeah.
You know? I think
Yeah.
that was something too. Is like the more houses we looked at, and I like compared them, where it's like the first house we put an offer on in Maple Grove with like that pond, it's like we got outbid. I think we max bidded it at like 270. I think someone offered like 300 or 310 for it. And I'm like, they can have it for that, dude. That's not worth that.
Yeah.
Like, geez. And then when we found our house, I think we got it for 279 or 280 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, this is, one, it's better. Two, it's not lived in, so it's not like haunted or anything, you know? And
Was
it's
that a
like-
concern?
Yeah, totally. I think that was actually one of the things I was like, I don't like the old houses. And we were looking specifically for like something like a little bit more modern,
Yeah.
I think was another thing.
Which, yeah, I mean,
What do you consider old? I'm just curious. Like, is 1950 old or is like
Oh, that'd be way old,
1925?
then.
I would be looking
we
for
were
a
looking
house
at
built
townhomes.
in.
They don't make townhomes.
Yeah, I was like,
1960s is probably the
True.
oldest.
I was
so.
looking for houses probably like 1999 or not 1999, 1990 and after.
Yeah.
I was like 80s is old. You know,
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
No ghosts in the 90s.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Ghostbusters were around.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I guess what you live in Ramsey. What do you hate about it the most?
What do I hate about Ramsey?
Yeah.
I think it's just some of my like my memories growing up. Just like we grew up, there was, I don't think there is anymore, but there was like kind of like a, I don't want to say like violent part of Ramsey, but like a bad part where it was just like, you know, just like I would get like jumped when I was a kid by my brother's friends and stuff. So there's just like bad memories tied to it.
That's wild to me. Yeah.
Yeah. Without going into any other details, you know, obviously, but it was just like not very good. And we ended up living, I mean, less than a mile away from there now. So it's changed over the years now where it's like, that's cool. But at first I thought that's the thing that I would hate about it the most. And that's not really there.
You're talking about the memories?
Yeah, in comparison to like now. That's
It's
like
just
the
like
main reason I
like
didn't want to
his
live there.
impression of it was based on like a previous time, sort of, right?
Yeah.
In your life and in the history of Ramsey.
Right.
And so now you were like, well, that's why I don't like it. But then you
Right.
went there and you're like, oh, well, this definitely does.
Yeah,
not
there
feel
was like
that.
a weird perspective change because right now, honestly, it's like there was a lot of good things I had too growing up. So, and like being there, I'm like, oh, I know all this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it's like I think you guys were discussing a different podcast you did, and I'm like, you guys know about the Happy Days Parade?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
about this? What about this?
Yeah.
What about this? And it's like, so I knew all this history and all this cool stuff, and I was like, you know, it's kind of cool that I like know the area.
Yeah.
And that was like a realization where I'm like, you know, I know like the different streets and where certain things are, and I can like walk the streets and be like, dude, this is where we were like, you know, hanging out with this person and doing this thing. We used to run through these cornfields when there were cornfields or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
So it was cool. But to answer your original question, what do I not like about it right now? Honestly, like nothing really. I think most of the stuff that I dislike doesn't come from like the city itself, but more so like, yeah, I kind of wish we had like a yard with a fence, like a little bit more like privacy kind of thing. So the goal is to eventually, you know, move out of the townhome into something bigger when we want to start a family and stuff. But
Yeah.
for now, it's totally good.
And what do you like best about it?
I just like that it's like chill. Like, and one of the things I think is really cool is, you know, I didn't grow up in the cities at all. So like walking distance for me wasn't like we didn't walk 10 minutes to get somewhere. Everything we wanted to do was like minimum 15, 20-minute drive.
Yeah.
But because of that, one of the things that's super cool is if I wanted to go to like Maple Grove, 20 minutes, Elk Rivers, 10 minutes, Coon Rapids, 10 minutes. You know, it's like, I think I counted and there's like 13 or 14 different cities within driving distance within like a half hour.
Oh,
So
yeah.
it's like you just have kind of like options. And to me, like 30 minutes isn't a far drive. And even
Sure.
going to the city is like 50-minute drive to the city. Actually, I think from Ramsey, it's like a 40-minute drive. Like
Yeah.
that's not that bad.
So I mean, yeah, you're already like very comfortable with sort of the spread outness of it. In fact, I think specifically you're like you don't want to live in the city. Like
Yeah.
you're not trying to live in
Yeah,
the city.
I'm
at
not
all.
a city guy at all.
Yeah, yeah. So you're like that feels that's like the appropriate amount of density.
Yeah, it's like a weird, like Ramsey specifically is like this weird kind of thing where it's like, it's not rural, but it's close enough.
It's yeah, it's right on the edge of like there are parts that feel extremely rural.
Now
you
then,
know?
it feels pretty rural.
Now
then,
that's
yeah.
rural.
Yeah. Now then is like designed rural. Like with
Yeah.
that like you have to have 2 acres or whatever. It's like they're trying to keep it that way. But yeah, the like it's growing up, Anoka Ramsey was not a suburb. Would you I don't know about
If it was, I mean, I can't even speak to it because I don't even remember knowing about it.
Yeah.
You know, like the furthest north I had ever heard of anyone going really, other than like going up north, was to Blaine for like that soccer. They had like a soccer tournament every
Yeah.
summer, and I had like any friends that would play soccer. Like, but I was like Blaine, and then they're like, oh yeah, it's like a 45-minute drive away from here. It's
Yeah.
like, God, that feels like a long. You know,
Yeah.
like, to me, growing up in Apple Valley, I was like, that feels like a long way just to go play soccer. But cool.
Yeah. And I think Anoka Ramsey, like, in my head, it was always Anoka Ramsey, right? They always were together, and it was only something I ever heard about, like, on the news.
That's so
or something.
strange because I never grew up with it like that.
And, yeah, well, because
Like
you were
they
there.
like- yeah.
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 Yeah. It's like,
And it was like all like farmland when I was a kid. Like there
Yeah.
was like an Oasis market and we used to have a video store / tanning salon called Top 10 Video.
nice.
And that was like
Sick.
it.
Yeah.
That was all there was until like the Cobrans got built.
Right. And I mean, I think that's probably why, like, that's why it was always, at least in my memory, it was always clumped together because it was like, there wasn't much going on there. So
Yeah.
you kind of like, it was like that general area, of a very rural place. And Anoka, it was like downtown Anoka and then rural,
Yep.
yeah, which is pretty wild. But yeah, it's changed dramatically, obviously. Are you glad you're in Ramsey?
Yeah, actually, I think I am. It's like the familiarity with it just like kind of put me at ease with a lot of different things, a lot of my worries.
Yeah.
It's like in comparison, if I did get like a home in the city or something like that, it'd feel stressful just because I don't know anything. I don't know how things like work or
Yeah.
where to go. Even driving, to the shop now, I'm like one-way streets or one-way roads kind of suck. Like it's so stressful, But yeah, I'm glad I ended up in Ramsey because I also knew like it was totally within our budget because I had like lived there forever. Where it's like Maple Grove, I'm like kind of nickel diming it, like
Yeah.
we're
Stretch it a
skimming
little
by,
bit, yeah.
So it was a place that's like well enough where it's like we can pay all of our bills, we can buy all the food we want to eat, we can go out to eat, we can live the lifestyle we want to live, and we're saving money still. So it's like I got no regrets about that at all.
Yeah. So in that surrounding 14 areas or whatever you said, what are some of your favorite spots?
Yeah. So specifically, the ones that come to the top of my head is downtown Anoka is pretty cool. Halloween capital of the world,
Yep.
self-proclaimed. There's a whole story behind that too. But it's like during like the Halloween time and like the fall, it's pretty sick. And there's like small shops down there. It's just like a strip mall, and everyone's kind of like down to earth and just kind of chilling. Downtown Elk River is pretty cool. Same kind of vibe, and like most of these like cities that are, their downtown is like right on the river too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like there's just these walking trails where you can just like go and get a cup of coffee from like the local coffee shop and then go chill by the river and like walk around and
That's what I like most about downtown Anoka.
yeah,
Yes.
and it's like you don't feel unsafe. Like you can just like walk around. Even at night, it's like you don't feel like, oh, what the hell is happening?
Yeah.
I
I mean, they feel like small towns.
Yeah.
I mean, by all accounts, they are. They just recently have sort of entered the fold of the suburbs. But yeah, it's like, it is small town lifestyle, but with access to the city.
Yeah.
Like you're not so far from the city.
Yeah, and then like places like Maple Grove, it's like okay, that's like a 20-minute drive, but there's like so many different restaurants, so many different things to do up there. And then if you really wanted to go like and do a lot of different things, you can make that 40-minute drive to the cities.
Yeah.
And be totally fine.
Yeah. Do you, I guess, we have a thought experiment that we like to do.
Oh.
And it'll be a little weird because you're in a townhome. I don't know that'll make that much sense. But
You can try.
yeah. Let's take the townhome-ness out of it. You have two choices, hypothetical choices. One is to take your current home, townhome, let's say it's a single family,
Sure.
right? And put it anywhere in the Twin Cities metro or whatever, outside of it. Or you can take your dream home and put it on the lot that you're on. Again, kind of weird because you have direct neighbors.
Right. But I don't really view my townhome as a townhome anyway.
Yeah. Let's imagine that's a single family home sitting in approximately that area.
It's interesting because I don't really think about like a dream home so much. Like I said, I'm like, this is a place to sleep. Like I don't really I don't really think much about that.
So wait, I'm curious though on that though. Like so, like the finishes in the kitchen or like the bathroom you mentioned, like
Kendra.
Yeah, but
All
like
Kendra.
you must care a little bit because you mentioned like the shower mirror or the shower window.
The
Like,
shower thing,
is
I
that
just
the only thing you care about, or
literally yes. Like it was just unique, you know. And it's like, and also something to mention, so it's not just to like make it seem like I don't care. The choices that were being made were very difficult for me from the beginning anyway because I'm colorblind.
Okay.
So it's like, hey, what do you think of this color? I'm like, they look the same.
Yeah.
So you have
Okay.
to pick, you know. So there was a lot of weight that was off my shoulders just because of that, honestly. But
And like Kendra like truly enjoys it.
yeah,
you
Kendra
know?
thrives in interior design. She
Yeah.
like loves that stuff. So I was like, you gotta do it, dude.
Yeah, it's a great match where you're just like, I'm agnostic to pretty much all of these choices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
that is a great match.
Yeah.
So dream house on your current lot or current house on your dream lot?
Dream house on my current lot. I
Really?
think. Yeah.
Crazy.
But you just mentioned you don't really care about like the finishes and like the interior like.
Yeah, but it's more like location for me because, you know, ironically, like I said, I didn't want to live in Ramsey. It's like over time my values changed, right?
I love
so
that, yeah.
now it's like where we live, we're 10 minutes from my parents.
Yeah.
I'm, 20 minutes from my brother. I'm 10 minutes from my sister. And like we have a pretty big family. There's like 15 aunts and uncles on one side, farm family. And they all, except for like 2 of them, live in Minnesota within like 30 minutes of us.
Okay.
So it's like being there, it's like if I want to see any family, I can literally make a text, make a phone call, and I can see them. Where if I was like, had my current townhome in like Maple Grove, it's like getting people, to, like my family specifically, to come out there, probably not happening.
What if it's your favorite? What if it's your current townhome, but like on a lake, very
Ramsey.
near, in Ramsey, or Nowthen?
I don't know. It's kind of interesting because like my thought of it is like, well, if I want to go to a lake, I could just go to a lake. I don't need to have
That's fair.
Yeah.
lake property.
That's fair.
Right.
We are surrounded by lakes. yeah.
Also, like the idea having like knowing what I know now as being an agent, it's like I don't want to have flood insurance. I don't want like these extra added things I would have to worry about.
The
Like,
maintenance that is required when you live on a lake.
Yeah, and
not
it's
the house
like-
maintenance, but just like the.
It's like
the
I could
lake
literally
maintenance.
like spend X amount of dollars, go on a weekend to an Airbnb on a lake and be totally chill and be like, that was a nice decompression thing. It's like dream wise, I would like to have a house and also own a lake house. But I don't want to like, for me, the dream isn't like owning the lake house myself. It's like sharing it with friends and family.
Yeah.
So be like, hey, you going up to the lake this weekend? Yeah, dude, I'll see you there.
Yeah.
Like it's more like a community thing than
I
like
think
a
that's
location.
that's the point of a lot of cabin life is that it becomes a place to
Yeah,
convene.
gathering place, sure.
with people. If you're going to move anywhere else, if you had to move somewhere else, staying where you are is not an option. How about staying in Ramsey is not an option? Where in the Twin Cities would you move?
Maple Grove.
Maple Grove.
Yeah,
I'm getting that you really like Maple Grove.
I do. It's like one of those things where it's like it has to me like a city vibe without being like so chaotic as far as like noise and things like that goes. So, and I do. For some reason Maple Grove has always been like a spot in my head where I'm like, yeah, I want to live there. I don't really know why.
It's nice.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
I can't hate on that. Okay. You You live in a townhome. What's it like with an HOA? What's been your experience with any of that, or whatever? Connected neighbors?
Yeah. So you share a wall, right?
We do.
Yeah.
So neighbors are loud.
Really?
Yeah. When they built the house, they were like, you could launch a bomb in this basement, no one's gonna hear it, Meanwhile, it's like we hear our neighbors like running up and down the stairs, or we had one of our neighbors was building stuff in their garage, and we would just hear like the banging, like constantly. And it's like a good thing to note that our work schedule isn't like normal. Like we wake up at 3 a.m., we go to bed at like 7, 8 o'clock. So like normal people like working on stuff in the garage at normal times, totally cool. That's an inconvenience that we bear,
Sure.
the weight too.
Yeah.
But the HOA is kind of weird because like we've gone through 3 different management companies with our HOA since
Yeah.
we moved in.
Oh wow.
And what we've experienced, again, most of the HOA issues that we have does happen because of our time that we work at. So for example, when it snows really bad, it's like the HOA pays to have the snow removal and things like that, but no one's coming to our house at 2 a.m.
Sure.
and plowing our driveway so we can get out.
Yeah.
No one's coming out till like 6 or 7 usually, and I think the one time that they did, they just took like a chunk out of the middle, and like we still couldn't even like get out. We're like, what the hell is this, dude? There are other things too where it's like, if our HOA was cheaper, I don't think I would like mind as much if I was paying like $60 or $100 for what they do, but we pay $230, and we have like a small patch of grass, and the sprinkler system doesn't even like water all of it, so like we still have to like self-water this area so it's not like dead. But yeah, dude, like they don't even like
That's a cheap HOA though.
That's a very
Yeah.
cheap HOA. I
Yeah.
mean, I know it's like if
it
there's
just feels like I shouldn't have to pay you if I can do this in 10
right
minutes.
for sure.
That's
What
how it
about
feels.
when you have to make requests about like for them to come out?
We
and
have
do
a
stuff?
car that literally parks behind our driveway every night, blocks our mailbox, where we haven't gotten packages because he's blocked the mailbox.
That's me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oops.
We've like wrote to them about it, and they're like, well, whose vehicle is it? And I'm like, I don't freaking know. And they're like, well, what unit does it belong to? I was like, do you think if I knew, like I would, obviously not parking in their driveway. They're parking behind ours, So that's become an issue too, but it just seems like, I don't know if that's like an HOA thing, because it's also like, hey, you're not supposed to be blocking like the mail,
Yeah,
like,
it's also
by
just
the law.
that neighbor in
Yeah.
particular.
Right.
Yeah.
Addressing the issue is probably an HOA thing at
Yeah.
the end of the day. But yeah, them like the person doing it, that's.
And
not
they say
really
that they have
HOA.
addressed it, but it still happens. It's just
Sure.
the person still does it because they're just whatever. But it seems to me that like a lot of people, and specifically me, like wouldn't want an HOA again unless it was actually doing what it was supposed to do. Like,
Well, let me tell you something. Nobody's
Yeah.
ever satisfied with
Yeah.
their HOA. So
Yeah. I mean, some people might be like, yeah, I mean, they're somewhat invisible, but nobody's
that's
ever
the
like,
best you can ever
man,
get.
our
Well,
HOA
the
is
thing
killing
that's-
it. Yeah.
The thing that's weird too is our HOA is like not even based in Minnesota. It's like people in New York,
a lot of them are.
right?
The
So
management company. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious, why did they change 3 times?
I think maybe because they weren't doing anything. Like, I don't really know, because we never like wrote complaints or anything like that until this last one. And then they respond to us, but we had no experience with the ones before that. We would just get letters like 6 months in, hey, we're switching companies. Another 6 months, hey, we switched companies again.
Yeah.
And this
Sure.
one's been here for like a year or so now.
Do you go to like the board meetings, like the?
Nah.
No.
I don't. I've thought about it, but I'm like, it just seems like almost like an extra stressor.
Yeah,
To just
I can
try to
imagine
figure
that.
it
That
out.
does not sound appealing to me. Although, if you do want, your voice to be heard, that's probably the best way. But still,
Right.
it's not something that I would look forward to doing. So you mentioned that you probably wouldn't want an HOA again. Did I hear that correctly, or?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on like how much extra it's adding, right? So like for reference of our townhome, I think our mortgage with everything that we do is about like, I think it's like 1540, so about 1600, and our HOA is 230. So, and then with our utilities, we're pretty much paying like consistently about $2,000 a month for our house. And I just think like that $230 when they're not like cutting our grass or watering our grass or shoveling our driveway seems kind of
Yeah.
whatever when I could do it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like they also like do our trash, things like that.
I mean, the thing that you're paying for, it might not feel like it now, but the thing that you're paying for more than anything else is like exterior maintenance of
Right.
the home. You have a new build, so you're like,
Yeah.
it probably feels like I don't even need this, but it's
Right.
like, well, you will,
Right.
And a lot of that should, in theory, be going to like a savings,
Right.
savings account or whatever of the thing. But yeah, all right, yeah. Let's talk some quick favorites, whatever. You're a local. You lived here your whole life, other
Ramsey?
than Seattle. Well,
Ramsey now then, and then I lived in
Minnesota.
Vancouver, Washington. Yeah, so Portland, Oregon is where I worked, but I lived in Vancouver, Washington.
but you grew up in Minnesota and all that.
Yes.
Okay, so you're very familiar with Minnesota. So, what's your favorite grocery store?
Favorite grocery store? I mean, like, I feel so biased because I'm like Costco, but it's because I work there.
Company man.
That's a fair. Yeah,
We didn't really talk about Costco.
I think it's not a grocery store. I know they have
It's
groceries. but-
wholesale.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's an everything store.
I mean, like, I worked at the Coburn's that's across the street from me, but, like, I've known since I worked there that it's expensive compared to other places. So probably, like, Target, honestly.
Okay. Favorite grocery store like that. I feel like saying Costco's your favorite grocery store would be like saying like the Mall of America is your favorite clothing store.
Yeah, true.
Not
true.
fair.
Yeah.
True.
What about restaurant?
We've been on this kick of just trying, like, new things, too.
Yeah.
But I think the one that we frequent the most is called Kendall's, which is up in Blaine. It's a golf course. It's a
Oh,
little tavern.
nice.
It's a chop house. It's pretty nice. But we've
Nice.
tried other places too. We kind of go to Maple Grove a lot for, like, the different restaurants of what we want and stuff.
That
But
makes sense.
in Ramsey, there's not really, like,
Yeah. Not a ton of options.
there's
in
like
Ramsey.
2 places,
Yeah.
and that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Is Maple Grove, is it chain stuff mostly, or do they are there like single?
They have like
Own.
okay, a couple. Have you seen the Village Inn in Maple Grove? You know the idea of a Village Inn? Oh, you know a Village Inn?
Is it like
Paul?
medieval times? What?
No, no. It's like back in the day. There's one in like Wyoming, Minnesota, north of Forest Lake. It's like Denny's or Perkins esque.
Yeah.
No offense, it's probably a little bit nicer than those, but only slightly. But there's the one in Maple Grove that looks, it's so fancy, and it doesn't. I'm like, I didn't know that Village Inn had it in them. Like it's by the Whole Foods and the Trader Joe's and stuff. And I don't know, maybe I'll show you after. But
Yeah.
there's the Village Inn that you think of. Imagine like a Denny's and
A
then
super fancy
and then
Denny's.
seeing another Denny's.
It's like going to the St.
Yep.
Michael's Theater. Have you ever
Yeah.
been there?
Yeah.
You walk inside and it's like a whole city inside the theater.
Yeah.
That's how it feels. It's like
It'd be like a
crazy.
Denny's that looked like a I don't know.
Like an Olive Garden.
No, way nicer than Olive Garden. Like a Fogo de Chao. And you'd be
Okay.
like, that's a Denny's? Yeah. That's what that place feels like. But anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
You were asking about Maple Grove, and yeah, is it chain? Is it not?
Is it?
The restaurants in Maple
Chain.
Grove that you check out.
Yes, some of them. We just went to this place called Polly's yesterday, which used to be something else, and now it's like this whole like Italian food thing. We went because I saw an ad saying they made their own pizza crust, like everything from the ground up kind of thing. When we went there, they didn't have pizza. I was a little upset about it.
Oh wow,
But I think it's because that's like maybe a dinner thing.
false advertising.
But
But
they have
honestly,
their food.
pretty funny to be like, this is the thing that we make from scratch, and then to actually never
doesn't
have it.
exist.
Yeah.
But no, it's like a cool little place where they have like entertainment there too, where they have like simulation golf that you can use and stuff. At least
Oh, right
via
on.
the ad. We never did it, but supposedly that's where it is.
You turned right around as soon as you heard they didn't have pizza.
Yeah, I was like, what? No, but again, it was one of those things where we walked in and we're like, oh shit, this is like kind of fancy.
Yeah.
We frequent like Italian restaurants and stuff. I mean, like there are chains up there. Like there is Zuppa, which Zuppa's like dope. Jamba Juice, sick as hell. Like love the cheap stuff,
Love a Jamba Juice.
But yeah, no, there's chains and there's like original things too.
Favorite coffee shop? Curious if it's going to be where I met you not that long ago.
Well, a couple coffee shops come to mind, but I have my reasons why I don't like them now. Yeah. So like without saying names, there used to be one in Anoka that was really cool. They used to do like open mics and things like that. And then ownership changed and they got rid of open mics and now it's less of a coffee shop and more of a bookstore. So I'm just like, okay, like whatever about that. There's a place in Elk River called The Edge that like I'm really big on. They're like really cool. It's like a
Did we meet
boutique
there?
end bar. Yeah, we
Yeah,
met there
yeah.
once. Yeah, it's really cool, really fancy kind of. But they serve like
Nice place.
alcohol and coffee and food. They have like a patio. It's like right when you enter Main Street in Elk River. It's right there on the corner.
Yeah.
It's really sick.
And yeah, Main
Nice.
Street, Elk River is super cute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right by the river.
Yeah.
Cool. What about park or outdoor space?
There is a park. I always call it the Boy Scout camp, but it's not. It's like another street up. It's like the Rum River State Park, like just up off 47, St. Francis Boulevard. And I think you might have shot a video at
sure
that
did, yeah.
location. Yeah. And I love that trail. It's right on the river too, and it's like during the fall time is sick. Mm-hmm. Super good.
Yeah, very, very nice, like green space.
Mhm.
It starts to feel very rural up there.
Yeah.
But yeah, in a nice way. Favorite gas station? I feel like Steve saved that for me, and I appreciate that.
Costco.
That doesn't count.
What?
That doesn't count.
I get cheaper gas.
That
Man. I got an
doesn't count.
exclusive membership, bro.
Doesn't count.
Probably what used to be an SA, but now it's something else. Is like something.
Speedway.
Speedway.
That's your favorite gas station?
I mean, like what? Who has a favorite gas station? What
Who
does that even
doesn't?
mean?
Yeah.
What does that even
Jesse
mean?
and I
Well,
do.
my favorite one you said I can't have.
Well, that's because it's not a gas station.
What is your favorite?
Quick Trip.
Okay.
Quick Trip's not a gas station. That's a convenience store. It's like the same thing as Costco.
You said Costco's a gas station? You're out of your mind if you don't think.
I mean, what were my options? Like Casey's too, I guess. I mean, I guess the one I frequent the most is probably like whatever I said.
Speedway?
Just because there's like 3 of them within
Yeah.
like my area. Otherwise, it's like
Well, no one's-
Coburn's, which is a grocery store, so that doesn't count.
No one said the
yeah.
H word yet, which is my favorite.
Holiday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of holidays too, but I don't really go there either. The accessibility is just like not there for the holidays. I guess I can't just like pull in. I have to like whip a U-turn, go into like this back lot to get there. Like maybe Casey's, I guess.
That's a
Casey's would
North
be a
Metro
good one.
thing.
There's
Yeah,
a couple
you
of
also have
those.
that Casey's really close to you. It's
Yeah.
a solid Casey's, too.
We get most of our gas from Costco or Coburn's.
Okay.
I will say that.
Okay.
I don't really make a trip out of like, hey, this gas station's freaking sick.
That's fair.
What about this one? Maybe you should have asked this one. It's a little more apropos, but music venue?
Ooh. The Amsterdam Bar and Hall in St. Paul is pretty sick.
Good one.
They have good sound, good food. Pretty awesome.
Yeah.
I would say like a close
Got a
second
patio?
for me. Yeah, I think a close second for me is actually like the garage. But
In
the
Burnsville?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
But the reason why I like it is because there's like so much accessible parking and it just feels safe. Because it's like right next to the police station too. And also it's
Very
like
Ramsey of you.
yeah, yeah. And it's like all ages venue, and like honestly, like they don't serve alcohol, and I don't really drink that much, so it's like yeah, it's kind of cool. It's just a different vibe.
Yeah.
But I haven't been to a show there in forever either.
I loved that. I mean, we lived close
Yeah.
to it. I was there all the time. I mean, even through, we played
And
so
they,
many shows
They have
there.
like a recording studio in there now too, and they do
Yeah.
a bunch of cool shit.
Yeah, they got a bunch of grant money. I think
Yeah, that's where I recorded my podcast.
that's where
I forgot about that.
That's
Yeah.
where I pretty much met you for the first
Yeah.
time. Was there. But yeah. How about, do you have a favorite body of water?
Lake Superior.
Nice.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to Duluth, dude, it like blew my mind.
Yeah.
Where I literally like pulled in there and I was like, holy shit, that's a lake.
Yeah.
Because you can't even see the other
across it,
side. You
yeah.
know, I'm like, what the
I
hell?
remember
Yeah.
thinking that too.
Yeah, it's sick. There's like the Thompson Hill, I think is what it's called. The hill like right before you go into. I've always loved like once you like crest that.
Once you peek it
and
and then
you
you
got the
can
view.
see it all.
Dude,
Oh.
love it there.
Yeah.
So cool.
This one, I get asked this semi-frequently. Winter activity or something to do in winter. Doesn't necessarily have to be outside. I guess that's probably the spirit of the question, but
Yeah, I mean, a snowboard.
okay.
I mean, I haven't in like a while because my board broke, but I picked up that as like a winter thing because you kind of need something,
Yeah.
right? It was like that or drinking, right? That's
Yeah.
kind of the vibe with it.
Well,
I
cool.
don't really ice fish or anything like that or snowmobile, but
Sledding. Snowmobiling. Pretty cool. Do you have a favorite Favorite like radio station? Like, do you listen to the radio? I honestly don't listen to the radio.
When I listen to the radio, I find myself doing the 101.3, KDWB.
Really?
Nice.
I would not have guessed that.
It's just like I kind of like grew up with it.
Yeah.
Like it's like
Dave
that's
Ryan
what
in
like
the
people
morning.
listen to in like high school, or like when I would like drive to school in the morning. That's just like what was on, War of the Roses and like
Yeah,
shit
dude.
like that. So now it's like when I put it on, it's not like I like the music, but it's like hearing the radio show. It's like nostalgic for me. I'm like, that's cool. It'll be
fair.
like 30 seconds and I'll shut it off. Connect my phone or something.
Is Dave Ryan still doing it?
He is,
Yeah.
dude.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
He's
It's grinding.
time.
State fair food?
Oh, dude, deep fried cookie dough all day.
Oh,
Dang.
okay.
Yeah, I don't leave there
Dang.
without getting that. And I used to really love the deep fried Oreos a lot, but deep fried cookie dough is the shit.
Okay.
I feel like everyone should try it, and no one ever wants to try it. But it's like they give you so much. They give you like 3 baseball-sized balls. I'm like, dude, I can't finish this by myself. Like, have my back, and then they never do. And then I get sick, but it's a good thing.
Is there any but it's a good sick.
Yeah.
Is there any relation to Sweet Martha's with that or no?
No, I mean, Sweet Martha's is good, and people are like, oh, it's the best cookies ever, that kind of thing. But it's like also like, yeah, they're cookies.
I mean,
Like,
I'll
argue.
like,
Play
yeah.
devil's advocate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, are they the best cookies? That's hard to say. That's like saying best pizza.
Yeah.
We were
Which
just
we
talking.
know is the rectangle.
Well, we were just saying like it's very difficult to say best pizza because there's so many varieties
Right.
of like, well, what if I want this type of pizza? I like a thin crust. I like
Yeah.
a deep dish.
Sweet Martha's is like great, but I won't leave the State Fair without getting deep fried cookie dough, and I've left the State Fair without getting Sweet Martha's.
It's
Several
because you were
times.
sick because you had the deep fried cookie dough.
It's because I'm one of those people where we don't go just like one time. Right?
Okay.
We frequent
You're
it
starting
like
to get into how
two-
Minnesota.
yeah, we'll play that game in a second
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
All right, to be continued. Do you feel one way or the other about the Mall of America? Say anything about parking? I'm going to be.
No, I think the parking's fine with it, honestly. I think getting there, it's super. I can go up like one road to get there from where I live. Like we go there as like a day trip. Like, hey, you want to go to the mall today? Sure. The one thing I will say about it is like, if you're not looking to just buy clothes, it's kind of like, hey, like we got here, we ate food, and then we walked around and left.
Oh, that's my favorite thing to do.
Yeah,
We go in the
you
winter.
kind of people watch,
We go in the winter, like a couple days before Christmas, and expressly go no
Yeah.
Christmas shopping allowed, but it's just to like
the-
drink inside. It's like going to like it's like bar hopping, but you don't have to go outside.
You know
It's
what's
awesome.
crazy though? It's like specifically the Mall of America around Christmas time. There's like a weird, like good vibe to it.
Oh,
where It's
yeah.
like I
Oh,
love
it's-
going there around that
Good
time.
energy for sure.
Yeah. Do you have a least favorite highway?
I have a favorite highway.
Okay.
I like 169. Gives me a straight shot to Maple Grove
It's
and
a
all
very
these other
Ramsey
places.
answer of you. But yeah.
Very random.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess like I don't know. I don't really care for like 35W. I guess like it's just I don't know. There's like the whole
That's like the main artery.
unless you take 169, baby.
Yeah. To where?
Maple Grove.
Maple Grove is getting so much shine
Yeah,
in this
yeah, yeah.
podcast.
Big.
I mean, it brings me to like Maple Grove. It brings me to
Send this to the
Burnsville. Everywhere I want to go is just
City
169.
Council.
That's fair. 169 doesn't go to Burnsville.
Yeah, it does. I mean, not directly. It's like it's pretty much there, and then you get off on like one road.
Shakopee-ish or
Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Also, it brings me to the casino if I wanted to.
True.
Mystic Lake brings me to Valley Fair if I wanted to. The Renaissance Festival.
Valley Fair hasn't gotten enough shine on this
Brainerd.
pod.
That's true. Favorite ride at Valley Fair?
yeah, great
Corkscrew.
one. Great one.
What?
Corkscrew.
Okay.
I don't like roller coasters, but I've gone on that one the most.
Okay. Favorite? I don't know. Boy, that was too quick.
We'll workshop it.
Yeah. Do you have a
This-
least favorite month of the year?
That's a good one.
Probably like February.
Fair.
That was my
I
answer.
bet that's
gets-
probably the most popular.
It gets hella cold,
Yeah.
and it's like that one month where you're like, we should be done now.
Yeah.
And then it like trails on through like March, and you're like, we should be done.
No more fun
You're like,
stuff.
it's March 20th. It's the first day of spring, and there's like 3 feet of snow.
That's true.
And it's just like, just die.
We should make a really cool like holiday. Like we should really fight for a cool holiday to happen in February.
Yeah, like the last week of February. Should
Yeah.
have a dope
like
holiday.
something to look forward to. Where you're like, well, this is the best week of the year, or whatever, because of whatever. Because yeah. There's nothing. I mean, Valentine's Day, I guess. Yeah.
Thumbs down.
Yeah. Okay, let's play a little game called How Minnesotan Are You?
Sure.
Okay. As quickly as you can think of answers, something tells me you're going to be pretty high up on the list.
Yeah, maybe.
Have you been to the state fair?
Yeah.
Multiple times in a season?
Yes.
Every year do you go
Not every
multiple
year.
times? Okay.
Just more recently, we try to go like 2 times.
Have you ever worked at the state fair?
I almost did. I was hired, but it didn't happen.
Dang.
Wow.
Well, have you ever gone to the state fair for anything other than the state fair? State fair grounds.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Never? You've never gone there for just a different event or whatever?
I don't even know what would be there. What's there?
We say this every time, but
Yeah.
like
Car show,
comic convention.
equestrian events.
Maybe I saw a car show when I was a kid.
Back to the 50s?
Yeah.
Let's go. Okay.
I got one quick one just before we move off because you know the state fair so well. Can you explain the difference between a corn dog and a pronto pup?
Yeah, pronto pup's a certain type of batter. Corn dogs. Like,
Oh, I think I talked about this.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
I was sorry. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
bad. I wasn't
we had a
trying
long
to put that on a
discussion
tee
about
for
it.
you. Yeah.
But I knew it.
Which
You
one's
did.
better?
I like normal corn dogs. Dude. Pronto pups are like, yeah.
Paul's offended this episode. Okay. Moving on, well, for now anyway, from the state fair. Have you had hot dish?
Yeah. Or goulash, right?
Yeah.
Is it too?
I never called it goulash.
No,
growing
either
up.
I
did
think
I.
it's 2 different things in my opinion because when my wife
I
makes
agree, too.
goulash, it's
How Minnesotan are you guys right there?
Yeah. I will
I don't
say
know what
I'm not
goulash
10
is.
out of 10.
I'm not. I'm close. I feel like.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah, hot dish.
8 or 9 probably if I had to guess.
Have you ever had lutefisk?
No.
Okay.
Okay. Lefse?
Yeah, absolutely. Every Christmas.
Ah, Christmas. Interesting.
Yeah, that is a
Were you alive in the snowstorm? The Halloween snowstorm?
91.
No. 92. So,
But you've heard about it.
absolutely. There's pictures. Yeah.
You've heard the lore.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've got one. How often do you reference the 1998 NFC Championship game with friends or family?
0.
Never.
Wasn't really a sports guy until a couple years ago. I was mainly football, not hockey.
Well, lucky.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Mainly.
Wait.
That is a football question.
That's a football question.
Do you know what
I know
happened
that.
in the 1998
No,
NFC
I have no
Championship
idea.
game? Gary Anderson.
Uh-uh.
Okay.
Don't even
Lucky,
know the
dude.
name.
Yeah, that's good.
Your score is falling
You've been-
rapidly.
yeah.
If I'm being honest.
I did live in Washington for a year. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Have you been to Brainerd?
Yes, but not like on like a day trip.
Have you been up north?
Define up north.
You define up north.
That's on you. You got to define what up north is.
No.
What?
You've never been. You mentioned Lake Superior.
Yeah, Duluth. I think.
I mean, I guess
just barely.
I
Counts.
guess technically I wouldn't count Duluth. I did go to like the Boundary Wires once, but I kind of like forgot about it because like it kind of sucked.
Are you sure that didn't happen with the 1998 championship? Because that also kind of sucked.
Yeah, I forgot that I went to the Boundary Wires one time. We went to like Lake Emily or something, maybe is what it's called.
Sure. That sounds like a place.
Yeah.
Have you ever cursed at a pothole?
Yeah.
I've got a new one. I just thought of this one recently. What person, fictional or real, embodies Minnesota the most?
Paul Bunyan.
Okay.
Okay.
Quick one. Quick
Yeah,
answer.
that's a quick one.
Probably a common one, but yeah, that's a good one.
Have you ever driven on a lake?
No.
Have you ever been ice fishing?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Have you ever tipped a canoe?
No.
Have you been in a canoe?
Yes.
Okay.
How many of these items do you own? Any clothing purchased from Fleet Farm or Menards?
0.
Oh my God, dude.
Bro, first of all, I work at Costco, dog.
Dude, I'm literally. This is literally from Fleet Farm.
Okay, so none. But Costco, that's like a half point. I would
have
say.
like a Costco hood.
But you work
Like,
there,
that's
so it doesn't really qualify.
Kirkland hoodie. Yeah.
Canoe paddle.
No.
All right. Purple Rain on vinyl or DVD.
Honestly, unpopular opinion, I don't really like Prince. Not gonna lie.
Jeez
fair.
Louise. Okay. This one I should. Okay, I'm not gonna ask that one. Well, I'll say it anyway. What the hell? Snowblower?
Do I own one?
Yeah.
No.
I guess you wouldn't because you're in an HOA. Anything with the words Grain Belt Premium on it.
No.
Okay. Twins baseball cap.
Nope.
Jeez.
That's a good one, actually. Yeah.
Minnesota State Parks pass.
Not like a year one. I like bought one
For like a one trip. Okay.
Yeah, we went to
I
Lake
guess I should
George.
probably rephrase that. A year
Annual.
pass.
Yeah.
We went to Lake George one day so far this year.
Patagonia puffer jacket or vest.
Nope.
Patagucci. Patagucci.
I think that's all. I got more, but I could go on all day with these.
Once company has announced their departure, how long does it take them to leave?
40 minutes.
Okay. All right, that's raising it up a little bit. Have you ever been to a meat raffle?
Yes, but it's because I worked at the restaurant that did it.
I mean, I think that actually
That qualifies.
that helps. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever done a laundry basket full of pull tabs?
No.
Have you ever done pull tabs at all?
I think I bought like one once.
We did a laundry basket yesterday at Mancini's.
Wow.
Yeah, it was sick. I think we won like $6 or something.
Hell yeah.
So you lost.
We lost. Yeah, and then you spent that to get more, and then lost. How about this? On average, how many crock pots are at a family gathering?
Oh, dude.
3.
Okay.
3 on average.
I was thinking it must have been high.
Yeah.
3's pretty high. I mean,
Now then, yeah, it seems like crockpot country.
It's not the 15 uncles and aunts. It's the now then.
Yeah.
how about this? Do you know how to make a Midwest martini?
Nope. Don't even know what that is.
No. Don't even know what that is. Do you have any sense of pride about the following items? Mighty Ducks.
Yes.
Okay. Husker Du.
Don't even know what
Husker
that
Don'ts.
is. Yeah.
Jingle All the Way.
Yes.
Okay. Fargo.
No.
The film.
Nope.
Okay.
Never seen it.
The Coen Brothers.
Filmmakers?
I know they're filmmakers. I'm trying to. I don't recall.
Clearly,
Lebowski?
no particular pride about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh Hartnett.
I know Josh Hartnett, but no, no particular pride.
Okay.
How about this? Which of these is the more Minnesotan sounding name? Sven Sundgaard or Joe Mauer?
Joe Mauer.
Man.
I have more pride with Sean William Scott as an actor.
Oh, love that.
That's fair. Okay. Have you ever caught a walleye?
Yeah.
Caught a crappie?
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever eaten a walleye or a crappie?
Yes.
I haven't done either.
In the 1984 presidential election, how many states did Democratic candidate Walter Mondale win?
1984. I have no clue.
Okay.
All right. I think we need to know that they've been alive. But I still.
I wasn't alive in 84.
That's true.
I'm not saying you should know that, but it's not like
That's true. I did
crazy
guess it.
information.
Can you guess?
How about would you like to guess?
Give me the question again.
In the 1984 presidential election, how many states did Democratic candidate Walter Mondale win?
40.
40? He won one. Would you care to guess which state that was?
Minnesota.
Nailed it. Have you ever witnessed a fight at a hockey game?
No.
Not between parents? Okay,
No.
moving on. Have you ever
Never
sat-
been to a hockey game.
Wow,
not even
this
like a
score
high
is
school hockey game?
way lower than I would have guessed. I would have lost a lot of money betting on this.
Do you know how to ice skate?
No.
Okay.
I've tried.
ever
I've tried
played
to
broom
learn
ball?
3 different times. Just not for me. Can't
You ever
do
play
it.
broom ball?
broom ball? Like
Wow.
field hockey?
I don't like the tone of that.
No, it's played on ice, but you're wearing shoes, special
Yeah,
shoes.
that's
and-
boot hockey, right?
Yeah,
It's just-
it's a different game.
But it's a broom.
Yeah, okay.
It's a broom, but it's not a broom.
Yeah.
It's like a rubber broom. Have you ever sat in a giant Adirondack chair?
No.
Okay.
I think I know which one you mean by the giant one, but like.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah.
You ever kissed a massive fish? A fake fish? You ever take a picture of a fish in a parking lot to a gas station?
No.
Oh. That's, I mean,
Do you know what a Minnesota standoff is?
Nope.
I'm baffled.
Do you want to guess?
I assume it's. My guess would be like someone doesn't want to like say goodbye to the other one or something like that.
Well,
And
Kinda-
they-
kind of
It's kind
in
of like
the-
the phone call of like, no, you hang up.
In
you're,
the
you're in a
ballpark.
vehicle. You're in a vehicle.
Yeah, here's
Oh
a
yeah,
hint,
yeah. You go, no, I go, no,
Yeah,
you go,
yeah,
no,
yeah.
I go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I've never heard it referred to as a Minnesota standoff before.
I think that's pretty good. And
Yeah,
and frankly,
I
I
feel
think
good.
your score is shockingly low.
Honestly, I'm not disappointed. I'm just surprised.
I'm shocked. Yeah. I'm going to put you somewhere around a 3 to 4
Out of 10?
Yeah.
You betches?
Yeah.
I would say yeah. That
2.5.
I
No.
mean, if you're gonna weight it because he's lived here for so long, then yes. But
Yeah.
compared to some of the people we've talked to, it's
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, it's below 5.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
I'll take it as a compliment.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, any parting wisdom that you have for anybody who was in your position, first-time home buyer, I would say specifically, as it comes to, going through the process of buying a home? And don't say working with us.
Yeah.
Although working with you would be a good one because now
Yeah.
you're an agent.
Yeah,
Work
with me.
with
Yeah.
Malcolm.
Yeah. I would say from my experience, 2 things. One, find an agent that you mesh well with. Like not specifically work with like you guys, but like
Vibe it.
if you feel like he's doing you or this person's doing you a disservice or not like really doing their job, you can walk away. You don't like your signed contract. If they have you sign one, like you can still fire your agent.
If they're not holding up their end of the bargain.
Right. You can walk away, find
Yeah.
a new agent. That's one thing. The second thing is just like ask questions. Like the more questions you ask, the less stressed you're gonna feel.
Yeah.
And the more like knowledge you're gonna like gain. And then like even if you don't get the house you were like looking at or putting a bid on, the next one it's like you kind of know the process, you know how it goes. So the more you do it and the more questions you ask, the easier it all becomes for sure.
Love it. Sweet.
Great advice.
Cool. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. If you want to work with Malcolm, that's weird. If you want to work with our guest, Malcolm, you can email him at malcolm@tothetwincities.com. If you want to work with Steve, you can email him at steve@tothetwincities.com. If you want to work with the team in general, you can email us at info@tothetwincities.com. And thanks for watching Fade to Black.
Yeah.